grant, $10,000. So, um, so I moved the minutes for May. I didn't see any major, by the way, I didn't see any major changes to it, if I well remember.
I'll second them.
Say hi or just place your hands for approval. Not approve.
Do we know about Chuck? Was Chuck coming to the meeting?
I assume he is, yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
He didn't say he wasn't, so I assume he will be coming.
Mhm.
So let's move to the second item, and I think we were discussing the right sort of subject for the application, and if I well remember to the notes anyway from last meeting, I think we were focusing on a study over as a sort of meta study of all the different studies done for that corridor on, Etna corridor or whatever we want to call it. And that's all we have to say. I know Martha had a meeting with NHS, so we would like to, also hear what they say, what they think about it.
Mhm. And Ray, please add in here because I think it's also important what you know about the owner of that 100 acres. Yeah, Ray and I met together with Kate De La Garza and Delia Yarrow from INHS. And they were very clear. 100 acres is definitely too big for them to manage. So they couldn't, maybe in any universe like buy and then develop something that large. But they would love to partner with a master developer of some sort, and that's kind of a common model. I think that's not unusual at all. So we've seen a lot of that kind of thing in this community. They always want to have another LIHTC proposal. That's the low income housing tax credit. That's the acronym LIHTC. In the pipeline this year, our Varna project and a project on State Street in Ithaca were both funded through LIHTC. And I'm not sure. It sounded like, Ray, it sounded like maybe they don't have another one lined up. Did you get that sense?
Yeah, they probably have some possibilities, but nothing definite yet. One of the key things is that they don't really feel like they can go into an area without sewer and water. So that might be the biggest inhibitor here since, we know it's not there at present and would take a minimum of a couple of years to get in there.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they did say, for example, their Trumansburg development, they had to spend $2 million themselves on infrastructure, and that was a 31 acre project. But so she said 5 acres and 55 units is sort of a good fit. But as you said, Ray, the infrastructure is not something they want to themselves take on, which is certainly understandable. And then Ray pointed, I think it was you, Ray, who said that the effort to bring water and sewer to the border of that parcel would be about $3 million. But the TG Miller still has to refresh the numbers, right? Do you know?
No update on that.
Okay. All right. So, and then just to fill out what else we talked about in the meeting, we talked about the Henshaw Road Mobile Home Manufactured Home Park. and what they would do and what they do in Dryden for manufactured homes. They have, minor repair program, or emergency repairs for seniors. And they might be willing to enter into an MOU for future rounds of the home funding, but I think not this year. So, she mentioned that, I guess in the state budget, Hochul's got $50 million for pro-housing infrastructure or infrastructure and pro-housing communities. As of 2 weeks ago, she didn't know what agency that would go to yet, which agency would manage that. And we can imagine $50 million isn't going to go very far. So the DEC does have infrastructure money. Ray, did you say that the DEC actually can't seem to get its infrastructure money moving? They don't have a place to put it?
I have heard that they're actively looking for projects to fund, yes.
Wow, wow.
So,
I don't know which programs they administer besides the WQIP, I think is one of their main ones.
okay.
And I'm just looking at the CFA resource book just came out last week, and the Pro Housing Supply Fund is, I think, the one that we were just referring to, and funding available up to $100 million. It is the minimum award amount was 2.5 million. It's a 50-50 grant, so that would imply that minimum project size is 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I'm trying to explore now is possibly, combining like Hanshaw Village extension and the extension out in Varna, maybe to get up to the 5 million. But then alternatively, the NYSEG extension could be a project in that same ballpark.
Okay.
So in other words, if let's say TG Miller, the rough number was 3 million, let's pretend it goes to 4.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I mean, even if we don't have the top dollar amount on the award we'd be asking, it's worth doing, right? I mean, I think we should. Do we have documentation ready for the Hanshaw? I mean, Hanshaw Road, they're going for a CDBG, right?
Yeah, that's the current, but that's just for sewer.
Okay.
So the pro housing supply funds talk about for sewer and water. So that's a way of getting both dealt with at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the NYSEG extension, I don't think we have, the engineering reports that would really make it a valid application. The study from TG Miller, I think, yeah, I can't really speak if it's enough to do a grant application with or not.
Even if they finish it up and get their numbers done?
Yeah, I haven't looked into the grant details enough to know, what level.
Okay. I mean, that would be tragic if we spent all this time waiting for them to finish it and it isn't even enough. It's not even sufficient to apply for state money.
Yeah, and maybe I spoke ahead of time. I do not know. I mean, some of these grant programs require what's called a map plan report. So the real specifics of here's the alignment for this size pipe. I don't think the study that we had from NYSEG intersection out was to that level of detail. Whereas for the Hanshaw Village, that engineering report has been done by LaBerge, by the owners of the mobile home park, to know exactly what size and alignment of pipe they need.
But just for sewer.
Yep.
Okay, you said something about Varna.
Well, Varna is also a small extension to service the 5 and 9 Freeze Road INHS site. So even though they have you know, they've already got their project put together. There is a small component of that, which is the extension of the present infrastructure.
Oh,
So I'm just putting that on the table just in case we need to combine projects to reach a certain minimum size. There might be a $500,000 or $1 million component there.
okay.
How about an extension from Peregrine Way all the way to Court, Snyder Court, up here in the hills? That's a small also, you know, sort of extension.
From Peregrine Way to what?
To Snyder Hill Court.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
It's a small extension. There is water already there.
Not
I
where
think.
you happen to live, is it, Leonardo?
There is water where it happens that I live here.
Mhm.
But people are asking for that, you know, extension is
Mhm.
really small. It's a very small sort of district, if you want to put it that way.
Mhm.
I don't know why it wasn't done when they actually provided water for the small development that happened on the it's not Peregrine Way, it was the near Settlement Road. You know,
Do they need water and sewer?
you only need water. I mean sewer. Water is already provided through here.
And is that to build new housing or is just to serve the houses that are there?
The houses that are there.
Well, then that doesn't really
No,
add to supply.
no. Well, open up the possibilities of doing some other stuff, some other development there.
Mhm. Okay. All right. How about where things are with Giselle Leonardo? Have you had any more conversations with her, Ray?
No conversation, so, you know, she is still involved in the courts trying to clarify title.
Okay. It's such a chicken and egg thing
No.
here.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, in order to, what's the county going to be interested? The county is not going to be interested in adding sewer where there are existing homes. I'm just going to put that out there. They won't necessarily be thrilled about adding water where there's already a project to do sewer. And if the INHS project is already in the works on Freeze Road, that also doesn't do much for supply. I mean, they're gonna, you know, that project is gonna figure it out. The difference, a county grant to do a master study on Leonardo's property is something that would make a difference.
Mhm.
When we finished the INHS meeting, my notes I have that the county proposal should be a concept study for the 50 acres that we could use as a base for an RFP, looking for a master developer. And then use the TG Miller study as part of that baseline information. And that there are other partners. They mentioned Beacon, Conifer, Park Grove. There are a number of proprietary partners, market partners that do work in Tompkins County and work with INHS as well. So that Route 13 study that the county did back in 2007, that came out with, it came out with some diagrams, and but Ray, that's not a concept study, right? That's just a sketch.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just, here's an idea. We don't know many particulars. We don't know if it's feasible. Here's an idea.
Okay. So how would you describe a concept study? What exactly would, $10,000 or $11,000 get us?
Yeah, I'm really not sure, but I would think that useful pieces of information would be some kind of like a feasibility analysis for it, some kind of market study component and some kind of harder look at the ground to make sure that we, aren't looking at some physical obstacle to development. I really don't think that corridor study in 2007 probably even got on the ground.
Right.
So having somebody actually see what physically exists as far as soils and
Mm-hmm. Are there any wetlands? We've heard of wetlands.
yeah, wetlands are getting trickier, but yeah, there is a little corner of this parcel that has wetlands, but I'm sure that, that's workable.
So basically you're saying there's lots of places where it's not practical. I mean, you don't want to go through a swamp, but there's other things in the land that make a difference. I'm naive. I don't know things.
We don't know. I think that's the point. We don't know. I mean,
Yeah, but
right
what,
now,
yeah,
right now it's woodlands. It's probably once was farmed and has been let to grow into forest. Is that right, Ray?
Yeah, it's just successional. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I think I'm in. Did you, I was gonna say the two, Ithaca housing, developments that we have on Cook Street. If you had seen where they put them, they're in the middle of a swamp. And they brought unbelievable amount of fill in and stuff to actually accommodate that. So I don't, to Mike's point, I would have to just say, I wouldn't rule anything out with Ithaca neighborhood housing.
well, that's great, but you have to get permission to
Do
fill
that.
it in too. To me, it would be great to go and find out if you can do that thing, section of land. I just was surprised, other than going through a big bridge that would cost too much, or going through swamp or something, that
I was shocked that they
stop
put
you
a
from
pool in
running
it.
water and sewer up the line, up the road, till you get to the place.
I guess what I was really alluding to is I was shocked that they built them where they were building them.
Well, good. We have some pieces of property in our village that never should have been built on due to the fact they're close to a creek and it's flat land.
Can I share the screen here? Looks like I can. No, okay. Cause I've got the those diagrams up.
You have permission now, Martha.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. Okay. I don't want that part. Anyway, all right. You can see that?
Yeah,
How do I get rid of that other part? All right, so this is looking from the east towards Ithaca. Okay, so this is over here is the west side, like Etna. Etna is back this way. This is NYSEG right there, if you can see where my cursor is.
Yep.
Ray, the Leonardo land, this is the Dryden Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And the Leonardo land is it all of this?
Wait a second, I've got to get you up on my screen. Yeah, pretty much that entire yellow blob would be the Leonardo piece. Maybe not right where your cursor is. So maybe the left-hand 3/4 of the yellow blob.
So it's not all of this?
No.
Not quite. I think that that last little bit from if you look at 3 arrows that bisect the residential
Uh-huh.
yellow, probably that uppermost arrow is maybe the dividing line.
You mean it's just this little piece?
No, let me see if I can do the cursor.
Okay.
he was saying that wasn't it. That was the end of his property where that line crossed. And everything
East.
close to to us.
everything east of it.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm not-
This is land, okay. Also this part, right? I mean, this diagram,
Yep. The
Just-
commercial stretch also up to all the way up to Route 13 is part of that 100 acres.
so this is 100 acres, and how much of a buffer were you suggesting we should have with the trail?
Oh, I don't think it needs much of a buffer at all. It can have a vegetative screen and there could be development, right up within 50 feet of it.
Okay, and this over here, on the other side of Route 13 is somebody else's land altogether, right?
Correct.
Okay. So then the next diagram was this one, the same direction, showing a layout of homes and commercial. This looks like commercial here and
Yep.
etc. So yeah, I think obviously the fact that this was that 15 years old plus just a really brief sketch. But having this and the legacy of the county's interest in this area, I really think would make a strong application. Does anybody want me to keep sharing? Or are we done with this?
I got a question. Where does the water and sewer end? Is it right at where it says NICEAG?
All right, this is looking at it from as an overview, and NICEAG is right here. So Varna is here. Ray, is the water and sewer goes to Pinckney, is that right?
No, it's all on the south side of Route 13, but right at that northeast corner of NICEAG's property.
So it stops here.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so you'd have to get it. And is Leonardo the purple or just the yellow?
The yellow.
Okay, so it would have to get from there to here. All right.
That doesn't seem like it's a $3 million cost.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Everything costs more than you think, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't look like a long distance here, but we're
Mhm.
looking at it from way overhead.
yeah, it could be several miles. It looks like it's less than a mile though.
It's less than a mile, I'm pretty sure. I'm quite sure. But is there a scale? Not to scale. Okay. At any rate, I think an investment in an intellectual investment in what could be done here together with theoretically an infrastructure investment really could enable a real neighborhood, real new housing, commercial development, childcare. Kate De La Garza mentioned childcare. They have done a couple of projects that included Head Start or another nursery school, daycare program. So they'd be interested in doing, like, incorporating that in their area as well. It's a perfect location for like a park and ride. There are just a lot of great things about that site. So
Is the land fairly flat, or at least not with a bunch of valleys? Big, deep valleys?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a relatively flat parcel.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
It's a relatively flat parcel.
So
correct.
it seems pretty good idea. Unfortunately, I have to leave and go on another meeting I have to attend today, so sorry. I'll look
Good
at
to
it.
see you, Mike.
Yep, bye.
So I think it makes we have a reasonable list of things to ask for that would hand a future developer a whole lot of information to facilitate, somebody like taking on this project.
Mhm.
If the public sector is involved in doing these kind of studies, a market study, looking at the physical attributes of the land, and potentially bringing in other money for the water and sewer, then I think that's an attractive package for proprietary developer. And we already know that INHS would join in and maybe others would. So how do we, so in terms of the county's grant process, it's not an onerous application, but we need a description of what we want, right?
Martha, are we talking about updating the 2007 study to find out the contemporary status, the propensity of the Leonardo folks to sell, and what questions in the last 15 years have arisen that would, I guess, speak in favor of its development and incorporation into this nodal concept for the area? I mean, that seems to me to make a lot of sense. Ray, is this spinning our wheels until the Leonardos figure out if they want to sell or not?
Well, it certainly, that's a big question, is the ownership piece. But I think this could proceed with, irrespective of ownership. This can, be a town focus to find out if this is a good place to put infrastructure money. And regardless of who owns the parcels there, we can further along the development potential.
There is a sensitivity about that question, Ray. Craig, who are you? You're Chuck. Sorry. There's a sensitivity about that question because a couple of years back, the town of Ithaca asked for a county grant to do a study about a significant parcel at King Road and South Route 96 going out of town, out of Ithaca. And they really had a lot of great ideas about how they would develop that parcel. And I guess they didn't have, maybe they thought they had interest from the owner, but in fact, that fell apart. The owner really was not interested in selling or developing himself. So the town of Ithaca then sort of withdrew its application. So that question will be asked, but previous to this last few months, when Ray has been talking to Giselle, and she's actually in court trying to get ownership of the land, get clear title, and has expressed to Ray she might be interested in sort of being a partner in a development, that suggests that this is maybe a good bet to place. And these things take time. Let's pretend we get this grant, then we get the money, then we hire somebody, then we get this. So we're really, if we're lucky, we're talking about early 2026 before we have such and such a report, just ballparking that. Then you put it out there. And I guess, Ray, do I remember that I guess Kate mentioned that kind of a study, then you use that as a base for an RFP that goes out to potential developers. We have this land, this is what we know about it, the owner's interested or not in being a partner. So all this stuff takes time. And we can multitask. While she's working her way through the courts, we could build this information. Am I being too optimistic, or does that sound reasonable?
No, I think that sounds very possible. I'm not sure exactly where the limits should be on spending public money towards a private development, but at this point, I think we're in such preliminary stages that, we can be functionally an advocate for development of the NYSEG node, and this is one piece of that effort.
Towards the end of our last meeting, Mike raised the question about NYSEG plans in the future. We were looking a little farther west than the Leonardo parcel. And I think this maybe piggybacks on what you're saying, Ray, that the more information we have at our disposal and could put into a report on the development potential of the area would, a year or two down the road, if in fact she does own the land and wants to go ahead, and we know, or perhaps it's too complicated, but I mean, there are several interesting questions here. Bridging between Pinckney Road and Leonardo, NYSEG's plans, and then the Leonardo, the 2007 report update. Ray, if you were thinking about developing Leonardo, what would be the first questions on your mind? I know that you said you haven't really taken a hard look at the 2007 report, but intuitively, what would you want to know so that you could sit down and be informed with a developer a year or 2 years from now? And that then we can talk about as possible leading questions in an application to the county.
Well, I guess one thing I'd like to see is the options for that parcel. What kind of mix of commercial and residential could you have? Would it be, 500 residential, keep it pure that, or would it be a 250 residential and some significant retail or office space or entrepreneurial space, or, what are the highest and best uses for the land, I guess, is the basic question.
Mm-hmm. It also might be of interest. I know it seems marginal. We're sort of taking the rail trail for granted, but does that enhance the development potential, particularly the residential? I mean, in my mind, it's quite an amenity that it's going to be there as a commuter corridor and recreation, et cetera, et cetera. That's something that's definitely happened since 2007 and changes the landscape.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's proven to be an amenity that's desirable. And in fact, we're putting a bridge across the NYSEG washout just to the, east of this parcel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going in next fall, or this coming fall, I should say.
East of the parcel?
Sorry, west of the parcel.
West, yeah. Good catch, Martha. Are there two bridges now?
Gotta get my east and my west together here. Let me ask where to go. I'm gonna bring it up again. Come on, open up.
Thank you. Oh, just gonna say thank you, Miles, but it's on.
What?
Oh, I was just gonna thank Miles before he signed off, but he got off.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We're not that popular, huh? That's not what I want. Okay. There we go. This is Pinckney Road. Chuck, you've been talking about the storage area. Is this the manufactured home park that's there right now?
Yes.
Okay, and you've been talking about the storage unit, is that over here, or is that like in
That
some-
dark zone that is just where your pointer is, I presume that's the other parcel. Gina can probably confirm that it is or isn't. I think she's done some research on this.
Where the
Yeah, well, I
cursor
mean, without
was is
zooming
where
in,
the,
it's, yeah. Go ahead, Ray, sorry.
where the cursor is the Mike Moore's Four Seasons storage. So none of the buildings are showing in this aerial, so it's all been since this aerial was taken.
Okay,
But that now abuts right up against the mobile home park.
right, okay. And you mentioned the bridge is gonna go around here for the trail, right?
That's the large Route 13 bridge, but there's a washout. If you go up along the trail, future Dryden Trail,
Here?
no, keep on going to the east and you'll run into the title of the trail, future Dryden Trail.
Yeah.
The washout is probably under the word trail.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's where the Cornell students are working on building a bridge to span that washout.
I see, okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
And who owns this again? There's a mix of things here, isn't it? Or is this still vacant?
No, there's a few businesses along there and mixed ownership.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Yeah, there's Tompkins Veterinary Service. Skylar Haas is in there. Bolt Storage.
mm-hmm.
Hills Fresh and Clean is in there. There's a couple houses in there too, right? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's two houses along that stretch too.
Right, okay.
Hmm.
All right, so one issue about the county's grant is, they will grant up to $10,000, but there has to be a 10% match from the municipality. So do we have a sense that the town would put up $1,000 towards this?
I believe they would
Okay,
with the right persuasion or persuasive.
it's a pretty good ROI if we get that. All right, so I would be willing to work on this with Ray or Gina. I mean, I'm a civilian and a novice, but I could kind of help put together a sort of an outline for this or whatever, if one of you could help.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we can both put an eye to it. If you're willing to do a first draft, that would be great. And Chuck would certainly be able to put some good content into it.
Martha, now that you've bounced it around a bit, what do you see, Martha, as the leading question, or for that matter, Ray, Gina, or any of you, in our application?
I would sort of start out by saying that, Tompkins County has probably for 25 years now identified the NYSEG area as a future node.
Mhm.
In support of that, the county did this 2007 study that included such and such conclusions. And the county supported an infrastructure study to evaluate, well, what would it take to bring water and sewer? So given those things, we would like to and given the fact that ownership is looking promising for the first time, we would like to do a market study. What would you call it, Ray or Gina? A feasibility study, a market study?
Feasibility study.
What,
Or-
Leonardo?
Well, feasibility study is maybe a more overarching, but yeah,
Okay.
these questions of finding the highest and best use are the gist of it, as far as I'm concerned. And I would hope that we could send a draft of this to Shauna and get their input, because they might have ideas of, oh, you really want to know X.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
So we have T.G. Miller study as another baseline for this.
We'll get it before the submittal.
Okay. Please.
Just a reminder of the, at least rhetorically, technology, infrastructure is, I'm sure that's what Shauna would say if she was on this Zoom today, emphasize that we've got to speak to that. And I don't think that's difficult at all, but lest we go off in another direction.
I'm sorry, say that again, Chuck?
Infrastructure, I think the HASIG funding will really want to know what the contribution will be to understanding the need, the demand, the cost. But that's got to be kind of the centerpiece.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, the Miller study is just to extend the water and sewer to the edge of the property,
Correct. Yep.
right? So any developer is gonna have to then develop it on the property,
The internal lines, yep, definitely.
which is gonna be probably the same amount or more even, so,
Well, I mean, these are variables where I think the sewer and the water could be extended to the opposite end of the property. And maybe that, the public water line would go the entire length of the property along Route 13. And that would be extendable in the future. Same thing, the entirety along the trail section for the sewer. And that would be public infrastructure. So there's a lot of different ways that this project could proceed. And maybe, I don't know if it's broadening the scope too much, but maybe part of this grant would pay for both the feasibility study and pointing out where the best possible funding sources are. Or maybe even write the grant, or, we'll have to see how far our money can go.
okay.
So Ray, does the sewer currently run the trail up to 13?
It does. And then it's a private, well, actually it crosses now with this Route 13 bridge project. We are going to replace the current water and sewer that's underneath Route 13, and it's going to become public. So it'll actually be over on the trail on the Knickerbocker side as a public pipe.
And it's going to end like right behind Knickerbocker or just past 13?
Yeah, they're the end customer. This whole thing was put in for Wilcox,
Got it.
and it was originally private lines,
All right.
but now we're taking them over.
Right. So it really runs into that section behind it. So the sewer extension, as you were talking, I was thinking about that, is that property slopes away from Route 13. So the north side of the property is lower than Route 13.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's where the sewer should be, right? Is on that,
Yep.
side of the property.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, and it's nice that we already have the right of ways and everything for that, right? Because it's the trail. We have the utility right of ways for through the old rail bed, right?
Yep.
good.
Oh, Chuck, you're muted.
And actually, from the aerial view, I think you can see that washout.
Yeah.
It's right at the back corner of this property, isn't it? Like right near the back corner of it.
Yep, correct.
Yep.
Ray, are you saying that the easements have been acquired all along there?
Yeah, the entire rail trail corridor has a utility easement placed on it, 66-foot wide.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the trail easements aren't finished, right, Ray? But the
Correct.
Utilities.
utility easements exist.
Yep.
So the public water the utility easements go along the trail.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and you'd want water higher than sewer. And the
Might as well
slope,
take advantage of gravity. Yep.
Yeah.
right. You don't want your water downstream from your sewer.
Right.
Well, these are all the water pipes are all pressurized, so it's.
Okay. I live on a well, you really, I think,
It's different. It's different than on a well. You're right. On a well, you're right. You don't want your well down below your septic, but
right. Okay. All right. All right, well, I think we have some good marching orders. Is there anything else we should think about or know about for this?
One point I would add to the thinking is just that elsewhere in the town and in many other jurisdictions, trying to retrofit affordable housing often gets blowback, pushback, etc. The interesting thing about the Leonardo parcel for me is that if you're starting fresh and developing open land, it's presumably a lot easier to build it into the vision for the future. And so I hope that part of the rationale explicitly will be about affordable housing in the Leonardo, whatever the highest and best use ends up being.
Mhm.
This is a nice opportunity not to have a fist in our face.
Mhm.
Well, and especially if you're really talking about 50 or 100, whatever acres that are available, and INHS can really only do 5. This is definitely going to be a mixed income, a mixed kind of housing, maybe some ownership, some apartments, townhomes, could be a whole range of things together. And importantly, there aren't any nearby neighbors who are gonna have their view of the woodlands, of the woods. Maybe there are 2 houses across the road, but you don't have to fight nearby neighbors. It's already on the major traffic route in the state, or in the county.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be bringing traffic through a neighborhood. There are just a lot of advantages of this site.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, and, so what is there enough here to sort of sit down and put together a couple of a concept, I guess, for the feasibility study?
Yeah, I'll take the first stab at it. I do have homework to do before tomorrow's zoning advisory group meeting, so
Oh,
I may not get this done till Friday or so, or Monday. I was just wondering, Leonardo, I guess it's too early for the town to be thinking about budget. And is there money in the Community Housing Development Fund from the town this year, or is this year's allocation going to the
This
freeze?
the allocation went to the Ithaca neighborhood housing, development. So,
Okay,
but there will be next year.
good.
And that money, which is not a lot, but it's substantial for the town. $50,000 for a town-based, project. So,
Mhm. That's good.
um,
Okay.
so,
All
so, so we'll be working throughout, the rest of the month, on the concept, and then and via email. That's the way we will sort of all being able to sort of read and maybe put some input to it. All right.
Yeah, let's try to get this done in the next week or 2, because the county is gonna, could have other applicants. We want to get in the queue as soon as we can. I think we have plenty of stuff to work with here.
Okay.
And did we decided to move our July meeting to the 2nd Wednesday because of the holiday, right?
Yes, we do. And
We did.
so, and we do have, I guess, a guest, right, for that meeting. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I got 3 meeting invites from you, Ray, today. And I was a little confused. One was like 2 of them were inviting me and one was canceling a meeting. So I was a little
Oh,
confused.
no. Okay. Well, I thought I was just doing a reminder, but yeah, thanks for that feedback. So I guess what it did is when I went to update it, it sent out a cancellation of the prior and then sent the new one, which was the same as the old one.
Okay,
So,
all right. Okay, so other than the July meeting, we're staying with the first Monday. Although actually, we did have a question about Christina, because we'd really like to have another town board member on our,
And I completely forgot, I even see Christina yesterday and I forgot to ask her, yeah.
okay,
I assume that was, they were, this time was okay for her, but I'm not sure what happened. So, I'm gonna ask her.
okay.
Maybe
we
she
did-
has enough with, the other committees that she's being part of it. She will let me know, I hope.
Yeah, and if it's like, if 9 in the morning is better, or like the end of the day is better.
Then we'll have to figure it out which is gonna be the best for everybody. We have people
Okay.
sort of different schedules. So.
All
Okay,
right. Meanwhile, Ray, is that the issue about the DEC's infrastructure money? Can you find out more about what their criteria are? Are they actually looking for something where there's water and sewer? What are they looking for?
You mean with the pro-housing study supply funds that I was talking about earlier?
I think you said there was pro-housing money through the CFA process. But then I thought you said separately, there's the DEC has some infrastructure money. Is it-
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. The WQIP program is the one that I'm aware of. I don't know what other, they might have more than one program that they're administering.
What does WQIP stand for?
Water Quality Improvement Program, I think.
Okay. That might be, it sounds like something that improves an existing system.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So Leonardo, I don't know if you want to get some buy-in from the town board this month, like at their June 19th.
well, that's why, as far as, if we have some sort of a concept, at least some sort of a draft that I can share with each of them, and then I think they were actually very supportive in the last meeting for our, going after these monies for maybe a study that we didn't have a good understanding of what study we wanted, but now we do. So I guess if we have some sort of, draft of, a few ideas, and I can share with them, that will be fine.
Is the next
Yeah.
meeting is the 19th, or would you like it for the 12th?
I think the 18 will be fine.
The 19th?
Yeah.
That would be a little more doable, especially if we're gonna loop everybody else into this.
Wait a minute, when is the housing committee meeting next?
July
Ju-
9th.
The second Wednesday
So
of-
there's no way we can, I was thinking that if we're talking June, so presumably, yeah, leave it at that. Yeah, I agree with you, Leonardo.
Okay.
So if we have it ready by the 12th, then
Then I'll pass it on to 12 and have a conversation with each of them. Okay.
okay. All right.
Martha, thanks for taking the lead and drafting something. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for,
Okay. It's been on my mind for a few years.
let's go for it.
All right. We will. All right.
So nothing else is in the, if nothing else, then we're gonna end early today.
All right. Maybe I'll get started on it right now.
All right, good.
Okay.
So good to see you guys.
Very good.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Everybody. Great to see you, Tony.
Thanks.